like you cheating on the test while the cheat is in there. Let's work.
Yeah, we on. Get it though.
You.
Yeah. Why not?
Make this up, man. Yo, welcome
Why
back.
not?
Welcome back.
We out of that.
Welcome back, yo. How you fellas feeling?
I feel you can tell, man. We feel good.
I feel great. Don't even ask that question.
Like he was riding the horse.
Listen, introduce yourself. Let's get straight to it.
You know me, I'm just brother to the night. The blues in your left eye, trying to become the funk in your right.
Hey.
And I am Yogi Dan Namaste.
Let's go. Oz, catch me on TikTok. Corny Dad, OJC. Yeah!
Yeah, you gotta hear it in the ear though.
Yo, I'm the man with many hats. Some people call me Chico, these gentlemen call me Ace, but my kids call me Papa.
Yo,
You gotta hit me with it. Yo, we gotta get that yah as one of the effects, yo.
Yeah,
I
what
think-
up, Ace?
Listen,
Yes.
I think Country Wayne will sue us for that one. Because I got it from
Country Wayne,
I got
yeah.
it from Country Wayne, for my boy Drit.
Yo, shout out to Country Wayne man, on that.
Yo, how you fellas really feeling?
Bro, we feel good, man. Let's get to it.
okay.
I'm
I hear
here to
you.
work. Let's work.
So, we were on a call earlier this week, and one of the questions posed for those watching, we have weekly calls, and during these weekly calls, it's like it's a business conversation, but then it always turns into a therapy session.
Sure.
And one of the questions posed was, "Is an apology enough?" Y'all got quiet.
It ain't.
We listen.
It ain't.
It ain't. It ain't. An apology isn't enough. What's enough is you have to give the apology, but you also have to double down on the changed behavior. So you can say that you are sorry. You can say that you apologize. You can say that, it wasn't your intentions, but if your behavior and the actions that follow that doesn't change, then you weren't sorry. You were patronizing me. You dig me? And, and guess what? I'm guilty of it. I've apologized for a lot of things that I wasn't really sorry for.
So,
Well, in the moment, even when you were apologizing, did you feel like you really wasn't gonna have a change behavior in that moment?
Yeah. Sometimes you apologize for the sake of peace.
That's what I was about to ask you that question.
I think that peace is momentary.
It is, but sometimes I'll take that.
Oh, that would make sense.
I'll take 50 cents over $1.
Something's better than
But
nothing.
you shorten yourself.
Better than nothing. Word up.
Better than nothing.
If you don't have a whole dollar, you got 50 cents. Let me get that.
So I think for me the issue is that, and Ace always alludes to it, silence is violence. And to me, my silence, while I worked on this change behavior, as you said, was violent. It was like borderline abusive to myself because I felt like I didn't have a voice. Even when I did change the behavior, like, so for example, so for me in my situations,
What and who are you talking about?
multiple situations.
All right, let's
You
zone
said
in
transparent.
on. Yeah, let's
like
zone in on one.
No,
Let's zone in on one.
because it's across the board though.
Okay.
So this is what therapy truly helped me with, right?
Okay.
Help me recognize.
All right.
Is that I was in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't exposed to how to treat not just women but other people. But let's focus on women. I didn't know how to treat women. I didn't know what was necessary of me. So yeah, multiple like women. And I wasn't giving grace. So yeah, like
You weren't given
I
grace,
weren't.
or you wasn't giving grace?
both. I wasn't giving myself grace because I didn't know, but I wasn't given grace by these women. So it's like, oh yeah, I am sorry, and I do want to be what you need me to be, but just give me time, right? So, and then over time, what happens is you grow into what they want you to be, but what they focus on is those pockets of time where you weren't.
Who's they?
Women.
What about you?
I didn't focus on that.
Who did you want to be?
that's the thing. I wanted to be who they needed me to be. That's the thing. So
Marv, let us get a little ting ting for that, man.
But that's the thing is I'm naturally like a pleaser. I didn't my son Caden is me in this sense. Is that when I was younger I wanted to please people. I wanted everybody to be happy. I didn't want to disappoint anybody. What I wanted was what they wanted. That's what made me happy.
You like it, I love it.
Like real rap. That's what it was. So yeah, like women. Like so when you apologize for not being what they needed you to be or what they expected of you, it's a sincere apology. Like yo, I'm sorry I wasn't that, but this is where I am now. But it's like, what about my pain that you caused? It's like, yo, like you wanted it. Now I'm here. Like what else? What more do you want from me? That's your favorite joint from the internet. What more do you want from me? Like yo, what else? Like so, for me, I have credit cards. I have a lot of credit cards. I can look at any one of my statements and I can see what I owe to get back down to zero. So my apologies and the work that I've done on myself, I felt bad or I stayed in situations because I felt like I owed it to them. Like, yo, I'm better now. And it seems like the better I got, the more bitter they got. Or they were bitter because of like the.
And what do you mean by better? Like, I want you to be specific.
So
what do you mean by you got better?
So I got.
Define what better means to you.
So more nurturing, more present, being more vulnerable. And then, and you know what I dislike, and I don't want to use the word hate, but I dislike is even in my moments of vulnerability, it was kind of like, so what? Like I can't say what I would like yo, like we don't, like this ain't that. You don't have that room to be soft, right? So it's like, well, I thought you wanted somebody to be more, for me to be more expressive, for me to talk more. But when I talk more, it's tell me to shut the F up.
So you wasn't safe.
I wasn't safe at all. And again, this is across the board. So yeah, like, yeah, my apologies and my apologies are sincere. Like, yo, I apologize for where I was then. Even now, I apologize for where I was and what you experienced with me, but that's not who I am now. But now it's like I'm done being guilty. Like I'm like, it's over with. Like, I've done the work. You gave me your behind the kiss. I don't feel like I owe you anything at this point. So it's me taking more control of my space, my mental environment, and me feeling and giving myself grace. I give myself grace because I've come a long way. So yeah, like man, like is apology enough? No. Is action behind it? Is that necessary? Absolutely. But when the action is taken, accept the action. Understand who that person is, where they were, and the steps that they've taken, regardless of how they made you feel. Regardless of how I made you feel, give me grace.
And I think what comes into that is actually knowing and really understanding that we don't have any control over any other being.
Right.
Your child, you don't control your child. You don't control your spouse. You don't control your friends. You don't control your homies. You feel what I'm saying? So knowing and understanding that you don't have any control over these people is being able to say to yourself, these are all things, new revelations for me. So I don't want to make it sound like I've been,
Is it Revelations or is it? It's like, no.
I thought you said you know all the books in the Bible. No, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I ain't mean to cut your wisdom eyes. I promise
man,
He just talked about that.
you. I did not mean to cut that man.
Listen, and you know what the crazy part is? I totally forgot what I was going to say.
No, but I think
It's okay. It's okay.
I apologize. And that's sincere.
No, it's all good.
no, but I
need some action behind that.
Yeah, word up.
Nah, but I completely understand that. But I want to ask you another question in regards to that. You talk about people, you providing apologies to people. How about yourself when the shoe's on the other foot and they've done something against you, a transgression against you? Do you provide grace? Do you how are you with apologies? An apologetic
How are you
person?
with forgiveness?
So forgiveness is.
You cut me off then. No, I'm telling you.
Yo.
Go ahead.
Forgiveness is high on my list. Forgiveness is an expression of love, and shout out to my ex-wife. She made me read a book in 2010 called The 5 Love Languages. Before you even get to the languages, they talk about forgiveness, and they say like forgiveness is an expression of love.
Self-love.
So out of that document or that doctrine, that book, right? That was one of the things that stuck out to me. So if somebody does something to me, just so I don't carry it, and we're talking about today, right? So just so I don't carry it and I don't hold grudges, so that way I'm able to move forward because I carry a lot of stuff and I'm actively healing from a lot of trauma and pain. So in order for me not to carry that, I have to forgive them. And in regards to myself, I forgive myself for those who haven't forgiven me for my offenses that I caused towards them. So if you choose to hold on to that, good luck with that. But I don't reside there anymore. So when people call me and they want to talk about what I've done to them, it's like, okay, we can talk about it. Now what? So I use a model in business called IDS, where you identify, you discuss, you solve, right? So we identify what the problem is, we discuss it, and we solve it. If we don't solve it, you move it back down, and then we'll come back to it eventually. But how many times are you gonna come back to it? That's holding up the business. So yeah, I forgive myself for a lot. I identify what the issues are. I discussed it with the people involved, including people from my past that I've had the opportunity to talk to that are still here. And that's me expressing my love to them, right? By having this open conversation, learning about what was going on with you in that moment. You talking about, we did Dear Mama some time back, but me and my mom, we have these conversations, and it helps both of our individual growth, but us as a mom and a son unit. So I had to forgive her for her not knowing. You know what I'm saying? So why wouldn't I give somebody, like, and the reality is with me, I've experienced a lot of pain and a lot of trauma, a lot of loss. There's people who I probably should have had conversations with that are no longer here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a real thing.
Sure.
So yeah, like I have to forgive people. I don't hold on to anything, and I have to give myself grace. Like, so yeah, and I try not to pollute today with yesterday. Like, that's a real thing for me.
You live in the present.
In the moment, in moments moving forward.
Right.
Like, so we can address the past, absolutely. But how many times are we going to address the past? Like, to me, that's unhealthy. Because now what that does for me about you, like, so if it's, say I'm just using you, Ace, if we keep talking about that moment, to me that feels like that your identity with me is tied to those negative times.
Absolutely. That's a fact. That's a Fendi fact, too.
So I guess the real question comes into play is, right, we talked about apologies, right? Forgiveness. Does forgiveness mean that you forget?
No.
No.
Forgiveness is a choice.
Yes.
Like, you'll have good days and bad days of forgiveness, but you have to choose to forgive. Like, you won't forget. Sometimes you'll be triggered by something that somebody says, and it's like, you feel those emotions that you felt in that moment, but you have to stay committed. It's a commitment. It's a choice.
I got a question I'd like to pose to the collective. How do we feel about providing people forgiveness, but also providing distance between
Boundaries.
Boundaries?
Yeah, boundaries are necessary.
Right.
Boundaries. I think boundaries is probably the first step to forgiveness, because if you offend me in a way, now I have to give my set of boundaries so that way you don't have access to me to hurt me again that way, right? But you're mindful of it. So as time goes on, they say time heals, right? It's true. But you have to stay committed to forgiving. Like, so as time goes on, those boundaries open up and they lift, right? So right now I trust you more with me and in my space. But initially those boundaries go up.
So when you say that, when you put boundaries up, we're talking about forgiveness is synonymous with love, self-love.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
when he says put the boundaries up, and that's a state of forgiveness, that's also showing self-love when you put boundaries up.
Right. So,
but do you see that the other person, when you put those boundaries up, how important is it to stay committed, right? Because when you put the boundaries up, then what does it cause the other person to? How do they react to those boundaries?
So people don't naturally respond to boundaries. They're not open to them. They're like, well, what is this? Like, you don't have access. Like, what is this? Like, especially if you're in a romantic relationship and you're in love and they don't understand what it is. Like, especially if they're used to you being a certain way. So for me, right, those boundaries are an expression of love to myself. So, and for years, I didn't love myself, and I didn't learn how to love myself until 2.5, 3 years ago.
I second that notion.
Right. So
Third.
so for me to be that committed to somebody else, I can't love anybody else without loving myself. And loving myself isn't anything physical. Like, it's not me getting a haircut. I actually hate when I get haircuts and get compliments. Like, yo, that's sharp. Like, yeah, that's what's up, cuz I don't know how to receive compliments and gifts. So, but me growing and staying committed, or it's disciplined to what I commit
Discipline.
to. Right. Is one form of self-love to me.
Facts.
So, yeah, in regards to other people and boundaries, like, those boundaries are put up because I can't love you more than I love me.
But we spoke about setting boundaries, and over time it.
What's up? What's up?
What you think? What you think, Ace? I mean, go ahead, Ace.
No, I just. I know that we spoke of setting boundaries and then over time allowing it to open up. But has there ever been a point for anyone on the table where a boundary was set and you kind of never allowed the gates to open up once again? You just always kept them. Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
I honestly really, unfortunately, the gift and the curse of who I am is I love hard, but I dislike just as hard, right? On another show that we did, I talked about, my ability to freely and openly provide my love and provide my trust without you having to do anything, right? So once I cut it off, it's a cutoff. And we can always be cordial. We could always operate in a good space. But the truth of the matter is that door, the odds of that door ever being open again is really slim to none.
And I'm a little different. If I cut you off,
Speak on it.
It's F you. Like, for real, because that's a like, it hurts. It hurts. There's a period of time where I can't talk to you. I can't see you. We can't be normal. And sometimes it takes years for me to come out of that and answer a call or reply to a text. I'll never forget my ex, after we broke up.
Double X.
XL. Go ahead.
So my ex, when we broke up, she sent me a text because I'm that way. And I'll never forget what the text. I had a flip phone. This is how long ago it was. And the text read, trying to forget somebody you love is like trying to remember somebody you never met. And, I was like, dang, that's cool. And it stuck with me, but I never reached back out. It took years for us to even have a conversation, no matter how much they tried. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah, I go completely under a rock, and I can't be cordial. Like, what am I talking to you for? This hurts.
There was also another comparison that I was trying to make, and it's kind of alluded to something that C said, right? He said that he goes into relationships giving people his full trust. Like, I'm gonna put all the cards on the table, but once a transgression occurs, it's cut.
No. I just want to be very clear.
Go ahead.
Once a transgression happens, so I'm all in, right?
You all in. There you go. Boom. We all in.
I'm all in. All the chips is in,
let's
right?
go.
So what I'm able to do is I'm able to start here.
Okay.
Then I'm able to start here.
Okay.
Then I'm able to start here.
Right.
And then ultimately, I may not allow these two to go. I may just take both of these chips off the table all at the same time.
All right.
So
I'm happy you said that.
So it's one of those things where when we start talking about the ability to apologize and the ability to forgive, I wholeheartedly believe in my heart that I'm probably one of the most forgiving souls. If I love you hard, which means that I'm coming to you and I have nothing but love and I forgive. Because one of the things that I think that I'm able to look at is I'm able to sympathize and empathize with the person, especially when they're hurt, especially when they're in crisis. People say some things and people do some really mean things when they are not themselves, right?
Right.
There was a point in time where I was working with the youth, and I took some courses on trauma, on what that looks like. So I'm able to also see that in adults when they start spazzing, when they start losing losing their bearings. So I'm able to forgive, I'm able to forget, I'm able to provide a lot of grace. I'm able to provide a lot of mercy, right? But to be quite honest with you, at what point are you the sucker right? At what point are you the sucker for providing so much grace and so much mercy that you end up losing yourself in the process, right? You know, when you just said you can't love somebody as much as you love yourself, I thought about it. And there are some people that I actually love more than I love myself, right? Because there are some people that I would sacrifice my love for. That's the ultimate love, right? Is to be able to sacrifice. So when I sit here and I think about the apologies, right, which is ultimately what we're talking about, right? If the apology doesn't come from a sincere place, I'm super intuitive. Like you just said, you apologize. This ain't a really big thing. It is what it is. But if we start talking about like life-changing decisions or things that rock the core of who I am, rock my foundation of who I am, who Oz is, right? Then it needs to be, number one, I need to feel that sincere apology. But number two, I also need the behavior to follow that action. Right. And that goes for man, woman, or children. To be like, I've come to learn that my feelings get the most hurt not by the people that I don't know. I don't really care about the internet. Right? Your feelings get hurt and you find yourself in a space of borderline anxiety and depression, right? By the hands of the people that you love the most, the people that you would sacrifice the most for, right? So something as simple as, you know, I'm sensitive. I have no problem sharing that I'm a sensitive person, especially to the people that I love. But our children sometimes can do something that hurts your heart, right? It does, like they may say something like, oh, "You're so ungrateful," right? You may have one of those moments like, "All I do for you," right? And you may have a spouse, right? And your spouse may do something that rocks the core of your foundation, but it doesn't. Just like your son doesn't mean that you don't love them no more. Right. Your partner doesn't mean that you don't love them no more. Your man might say something that's a little off, and you like, oh, word? That's how you feel, cuz? Doesn't mean that you don't love. It doesn't mean I don't love you no more, but it means that now I have a better idea and a better understanding, especially when you're grounded, right? I think that's the most important thing. And I'm gonna take a page out of the Drink Champs, Noriega and them. This is where I got to give Den all his flowers, right? Because through Den's spiritual guidance and his ability to work with us on yoga, on meditation, it actually gives us another sense of groundedness. You feel what I'm saying? There was a point in time where I jumped out of an airplane, right? Literally, I jumped out of an airplane because I wasn't grounded. I was looking and I was fighting fears, right? But in all actuality, while working with my brother, I realized that the peace that I was looking for was actually within me. There was nothing that I could do to scare it out of me. There was nothing that I could do to shock it out of me. You feel what I'm saying? I had to really buckle down and do the work. I've never read as many books as I've read now. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Like real talk. Like I read books. I'm talking about the acknowledgments to the pre anyway, it doesn't matter. But I read it from front to back, right? The index, right? The index. But I feel like when we start talking about, you know, the ability to accept an apology and ability to forgive, right, is really understanding who you are and what it is that you stand for.
Absolutely.
Because you lose yourself in the process of loving other people. You lose yourself in the process of wanting to please other people. You lose yourself in the process of being in the process.
So for me,
shouts out to Yogi Den.
Yo, shout out. I'm loving the conversation. I'm just listening.
I got a question. This is sour. Was Den there when you jumped out the plane?
You went too far. Next question.
All right. He was there. I jumped too. Yeah.
Oh, so you jumped out of the plane as well?
Yeah. And
yo, listen.
What's wrong with y'all, man? I'm playing.
I decided to what is it called?
You got enough Michael Jordan?
No, when you, what is it? I decided to go skydiving, right? Literally, the skydiving thing started with, I'll throw a little cap on it, 100 people that said that they were gonna go, right? The day of, literally, it was just me by myself. I was like, no, you know what? I made a contract with myself that I was gonna do this, whether anybody else did it or not.
Let's go.
It was Black Friday. I want to say 2019, Black Friday.
Let's go.
And I went alone, like by myself. Nobody, no mama, no partner, no, like I went by myself. And literally after I come down, I land, guess who's there like, "Ah! Yogi did
And,
I was
and,
not
and he
letting
had it
my
on
brother.
camera too.
And he had everything on camera. And the crazy part about it is I was not expecting it because I was like, yo, this is my journey. This is
Right.
this is a path that I've chosen for myself. And out of all of the people that could have been there, I turned around, my brother was there. Right. Man, listen.
So
I love me some Yogi Day.
You. Nah. I had to get that one back.
So he was there with me too.
Yeah.
So
It's different.
But, yeah, it's different. And having those conversations of I think one of the questions that then asked me before I jumped was, why are you doing it? And it was I was bound to my past, bro. Like I try to control everything in my life to a T. And I told him I just want to be free. He was like, all right, let's do it. Right? So in that, like, so that lack of control and experiencing it, it was like symbolism to where I am now. Just the space that I'm in. Like
Liberating. It was free.
it was very much free. So yeah, but I needed freedom from. That was my sign of giving myself grace. I jumped out that plane. When I jumped out, and for those fathers, for those husbands, for those boyfriends, for those people, not just males, it's okay to begin again.
Always.
It's okay to begin again. You're not. So you just said like. The core of who you were is rocked, and you don't like to be rocked. Me, my core of who I was then was always tied to other people and making them happy. I didn't know what I wanted because I was living moment to moment because of how I grew up. I was always in survival mode, and I kind of had survivor's remorse. Even now a little bit. And it wasn't until a few months ago that I'm starting to come out my survivor's remorse shell because I begin to plan out and write down things that I want for myself. And it'd be day by day, week by week, month by month, things I want to accomplish. And again, along with my journey are you guys, and especially Yogi Den. And I get a lot of pushback from people in my life about my relationship with Dennis, but Dennis has been probably one of the most healthiest people. He challenges me. He not always with my shit. You know what I'm saying? Excuse the French, but he not always with it. And sometimes he check me on it, and other people in my life, they don't. So in regards to like just being apologetic, he challenged me there too. Like, how long are you going to apologize? Forgive yourself. And it's like, how do I do that? And he makes recommendations. So yeah. I'm not sorry that I was sorry. I'm sorry that I'm not sorry anymore. There was a point where I was sorry and I was like, whatever you need me to be, and then who I am and what I've become is not who they need. What they need is to find out who they are, and embark on their own journey, because I'm not sorry anymore. I was in a place of, you know how people say, you say I'm sorry and somebody say you are sorry. That's absolutely what you are. I feel, looking back, I was sorry, and now I'm not.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah, I think too, one of the biggest things about putting boundaries up and also telling somebody like, hey, listen, I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to take this pain and this verbal abuse, this physical abuse, or whatever it is. I'm going to stand up for myself. Then when you don't do that, you rob that person of their healing as well, right?
Very true.
That's stealing from them. That's stealing their progress, because once you put that boundary up, they have to start to not use you as the ploy anymore, but to start to look in the mirror and say, whoa, I don't have that anymore. I have to look at myself. And then they can start their healing process. So by you not putting the boundaries up, you're robbing that person of their progress and their growth.
and you robbing yourself of love,
Definitely
man.
robbing yourself of love.
And
them of love.
Right.
Yo, I love how
Or
we
better
was
yet,
out.
you delaying it.
You're delaying it.
I love how we was out here giving Yogi Dennis flowers. We got to give Yogi Dennis flowers, man, because
I appreciate it.
Yogi, like, you have really, I mean, even the conversation coming in today, I'm like, yo, Yogi, there's some things you said about 3 months ago. I'm just not getting you. Like, you wasn't ready then. So I guess to echo the sentiments, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
We appreciate
I
you, brother.
thank you.
You know what I
Thank you.
mean? Because like I said in a previous episode, this brother right here, once he left, I'm like, I had a conversation with my obligation. I had an obligation that I placed on myself for the young men around me, and to know that one of them was able to go and meet such a strong spirit that was fighting his own demons, and able to come out of that and help him in his journey and help Snug in his journey. I appreciate you, Yogi.
Thank you, man. I have so many teachers, so many guides in myself.
This boy grew from a black and mild smoking
evolution.
That's what I'm saying. To where we are now, and it's crazy because as much as he accompanied us our journeys, we've witnessed it as well. So,
absolutely.
So yeah.
Word up, man.
But yeah, we grow together, we grow apart, man, and I'm glad that we continue to grow together. I appreciate you, fellas, and in the meantime, forever stay corny.
Stay corny, y'all.
Sorry, not
That's
sorry.
so corny.
Sorry, not sorry.